Happy effing Sunday to all of you Bad News listeners out there. Super excited for season 2. We have Dabs and MYLA today with Roger Gastman. Wow, what a trio right there. What a treat for all of you guys to hear their stories. Dabs and MYLA are amazing artists from Australia, husband and wife, some of my favorite artists walking this earth. Roger Gastman, founder of Beyond the Streets, graffiti historian, great friend all around. Got a lot to talk about, got a lot for you guys to hear. Sad times going on in the world right now. Rest in peace to George Floyd. A few weeks ago, we decided to, take a little break so everyone in the world could take a little breather. It's really sad, but it's amazing to watch how the world has come together and finally unite on the race war. A lot of our episodes have been pre-recorded, so we don't talk about what's really going on right now. But as you get into the second season, we did record most of this season on Zoom with all of our friends. So it will be on our YouTube channels as well. So we're excited for you guys to hear today and the following weeks. And as always, thank you for supporting us, for commenting, for reviewing, everything that has to do with Bad News. And yeah, enjoy your Sunday. Hopefully you guys are all barbecuing out there, trying to relax. Vegas is open again. Pools are open. People are out. People are barbecuing. I'm eating hot dogs. Matt's having a good time. That's all we got to do. Stay blessed, everyone. Thank you.
Hey, yo, bad news. Fuck going on?
That's just terrible.
Bad news.
I can't believe it.
Bad news.
Extra, read all about it.
Bad news.
Called Cruel World. Have you seen this?
No.
Black Audio are playing at it, but it's like Bauhaus, Blondie, Devo, Morrissey, Public Image.
It's a show?
Yeah, dude.
You sure?
Yeah, dude.
Pull it up.
And
Morrissey's just out there doing things again?
I'm sure it's a show. It says it's presented by Golden Voice.
Well, Golden Voice is always doing a Morrissey type of show. Well,
We're back.
we're back. We're here.
Wait, this hasn't started, has it?
No, we're starting right now, but you could bring it up.
We do the dry
Okay.
run.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, May 2nd. Echo and the Bunnymen, Devo, Blondie, Bauhaus, Morrissey, Psychedelic Furs, Violent Femmes, The Church, English Beat, Public Image, Gary Newman, Black Audio,
Huh.
and
That's
others.
good.
He's
Who
gonna
do you want to see?
I enjoy Devo, Blondie, Psychedelic Furs, Violent Femmes, and Public Image.
Okay.
Out of that list, I'm not a big Morrissey, Bauhaus.
My friend's his drummer.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just can't get into Morrissey. I know the world loves him. Well, they actually hate him, but they love his music. But
He might think you're cute.
maybe.
All right.
Tight.
On that note,
I like to play in.
Cool.
of cuteness, we're back. We're here with some very special people. It's gonna be really fun.
This is a good one.
59 minutes.
I know. It's got to be quick.
It's not gonna be quick. It's gonna go by slow, but it's gonna be so beautiful with beautiful people.
So much detail.
Matt, why don't you tell the world who we got here today?
Oh, man. No, you got to do it.
All right. Well, we got the world famous Roger Gastman.
Heyo.
He's here. Hello.
Hi.
We got Dabs and MYLA here today because there's no ever getting just Dabs or MYLA
That's true.
or MYLA or Dabs. It's Dabs and MYLA.
Uh-huh.
Dabs MYLA.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that?
It's Dabs MYLA. You know, I will say this. People are there's been times, and I'm a close friend of these two, who are like, when I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go meet Dabs and MYLA, and they're like, it's Dabs MYLA. I'm like, no, it's Dabs and MYLA. They're like, no, look at their Instagram. It's Dabs MYLA. I'm like, no, they probably just wanted to get rid of the and sign. It's like,
They just don't
because they're one person.
Well, we are both those things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when we decided to call ourselves DABSMYLA, we specifically, I think we first started with an and then we took it away because we did what our goal was is to try and create artwork that looks like it's made by one person. And we kind of like the idea of people thinking that maybe it is one, you know what I mean? That
No, that's fair.
that it is one person, but then we also are Dabs and MYLA. Like
Right.
you are having lunch with
Dabs
Dabs and
and
MYLA, and we are
Dabs and MYLA.
We're all those things.
Right.
Yeah,
But like, you are one.
we really are.
You
And
share one car. one house,
Uh-huh.
one dog,
Uh-huh.
one studio.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's just fucking...
And as insane as it is, like we were talking about this the other day, in the last 6 months, somehow we have gotten closer and even more connected than we ever have been. And it just keeps happening. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we've been together and we've been creating artwork together for.
But how can you say you've gotten closer? What makes you realize
Because
that?
you're pretty close.
I know.
I
But
know.
I think that we've just become closer because
You think closer as friends, closer, obviously,
are you wearing-
lovers, husband and wife?
yeah.
Like,
You wearing each
All
other's
the-
clothes? Like, yeah, that looks like I might fit that jacket.
I really want us to dress in matching clothes. I think
that
it's-
would be so fucking dope.
I think it's funny as shit, right? But then, and I think if we turn up somewhere and we were wearing matching clothes, it would be really funny and people would like it. She doesn't love it. And even if we're kind of close, I'm like, oh shit, look, black jeans, white t-shirt, both wearing Adidas, we're matching. And she's like, I'm going to change. And I'm like, no, don't.
Don't open your mouth.
I know.
fair.
That's your fault.
I know.
You ruined it.
But I'm all
played out.
excited. I get lost in the moment. I forget that I'm going to like fuck myself over by.
I want to see
saying
matching
something.
outfits.
Me too. That's what I'm
Maybe.
saying. Hey, look at that.
Hey,
Yeah.
we're moving.
Yeah.
Will you wear a skirt?
Yeah, sure. If we're gonna be matching.
Davey can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Davey's a legend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. He can pull it off. I feel
so-
like I don't know if I can, but
You could probably,
it's maybe like a small steps towards dressing like Davey. Maybe.
Davey's a legend.
He can pull anything off.
He could. Did he still have a mustache?
No.
Oh, man. He
Man.
pulled that off pretty good.
Man, he's got some crazy haircut now. It's like all like
Roger,
like braids at the back or something.
I know.
can we talk about your hat?
Sure.
Yeah, I want to know
What do
the
you wanna
story
talk
of this
about?
hat.
So, like, obviously I wear a Palms hat, right? And, like, because I'm Palms. That's, like, my baby. I love it so much. And
Multiple colors too.
But this has been the color now for, like, 6 months. And you're right. It was black for a sec. And then I was like, damn, the maroon's pretty cool. And then the red is like, whew, you know. I'm sure everyone talks shit about it. Like, stop wearing that hat. But you're wearing the Orioles hat. And, like, that's what everyone knows you as. Like, if you can't take it off. Like, if you people will probably walk right by you if you didn't have that hat on.
That would be great.
Be like,
Maybe I
man,
should do
Roger
that.
is probably in a really shitty mood. He sleeps with that hat.
I should do that and get like a mullet wig and just go wherever I want. No one will know.
That's like that episode of Curb where he wears the MAGA hat
Yeah.
out to
Right.
lunch, and everyone's like doesn't want to talk to him. They're like, oh my god.
It's something to think about.
I'd love to see you in disguise of some sort, like not the hat. Mullet wig sounds really good.
Just wait for it.
Shave
Yeah.
the facial hair.
Mullet wig and a dress.
Yeah, perfect.
I grew up in Bethesda, Maryland. There was no Washington Nationals at the time. We were going to see games at Memorial Stadium, at Camden Yards, going to see the Baltimore Orioles.
Right.
80s, 90s. It was awesome. It was fun. I remember it well. I couldn't name one player on the Baltimore Orioles team right now, though.
Right. I have been watching The Wire. That's right around there, isn't it?
The Wire's real.
It is, right?
It's the neighborhoods are real. Baltimore was a scary place. We used to paint all these jobs for Coca-Cola.
Uh-huh.
Richard Coleman and I mostly.
Great
And
artist.
This is in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was Art of Harmony. It was happening in all kinds of cities. Kids would enter a contest. They'd win like $500 in a scholarship or something.
Uh-huh.
And then Coca-Cola would pay us to go reproduce the artwork on the side of mostly really horrible inner city liquor stores. So let's go paint little kids' art, or high school kids' art on liquor stores in the hood. Sure, fuck it. Why not? They're paying us. I think we got paid like $750 a mural at the time, which was, I don't know, we're 19, 20 years
pretty
old.
good.
It was pretty awesome.
That's huge.
And
Yeah,
we
it
were
is.
doing it in D.C. It was kind of sketchy. They couldn't find anyone to do it for them in Baltimore because Baltimore is just so fucked up. And so we started doing it in Baltimore for them also. And we'd get run out of the neighborhoods pretty quickly where we'd have to bring extra paint, give it to the kids. They would literally walk around the neighborhood painting weed leaves, drawing Uzis, like
That's so sick.
really great stuff the more you look back at it, but fucked up stuff. And we turned out where we had to start going to paint the walls. We'd show up at right before dawn and hang out, and we'd literally see the warehouses smoldering because the landlords would just light everything on fire to get the crackheads and the druggies out. Then we could paint for like a 2.5, 3 hour window from dawn to when around 9 a.m. when the liquor stores opened up, and then we'd have to be out.
Wow.
But moral of that story is all those neighborhoods were the neighborhoods of The Wire.
Yeah.
And when you'd watch The Wire, every so often we'd see a Coca-Cola wall we painted.
No
Oh
way.
man.
That's pretty cool.
With the mural still on it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
How did you even get into graffiti in that world?
Was there a big graffiti scene in like DC, Baltimore area at the time?
DC, Baltimore is a really old graffiti scene,
Right.
going back to the late 70s, 79, 80s when it really kicks off, but that's a whole other story.
Oh my God.
I-
Look what you've done.
Well,
I'm not gonna tell it.
We can start at the 80s.
I'm not. So I grew up right outside DC. That wasn't a big graffiti scene till the late 80s. There was pockets here and there, and the kids I was hanging out with were all hardcore kids, punk rock, straight edge kids. They all had tags. I started realizing in 6th, 7th grade, people had tags I was hanging out with. I was like, what the hell is that? Didn't realize what it was. In the end, figured it out pretty quickly. By 7th, 8th grade, I was enamored. And by 9th grade, I was running around writing on crap.
Right.
I still had no idea, though, that it had anything to do with the outside world other than hardcore and punk rock. I was in for a rude awakening when I ended up in Chicago in 9th grade at some weird THC, the Hash Crew party, with all these guys in their 20s. They're like, do you break? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Wait, you thought that graffiti was just for hardcore people who are into hardcore music?
I didn't think it was just for them, but I thought that was the community and people everywhere that were hardcore straight edge kids
Were
writing
writers.
graffiti.
Really?
I had nothing to do with hip hop. I mean, this is the early 90s.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in 9th grade.
Uh-huh.
I'm not listening, to 80s hip hop.
Of course, and your worldview's a
lot.
lot different at that age. You don't
Absolutely.
really think that much outside of your neighborhood or, where you are.
I'm listening to the Gorilla Biscuits record. I'm listening to Minor Threat. I'm listening to Fugazi. Like, I'm hanging out with kids, going to hardcore and punk rock shows up and down the East Coast. I'm not thinking about hip hop.
Do you still go to punk rock shows?
I do here and there, not as often as I like, but I still do here.
You
and there.
collect like old posters, right?
I collect all kinds of old ephemera.
Right.
Absolutely.
What's some of the posters at your house you've shown me, like the old school shows, right? Like are those like punk rock shows that you have in your file cabinets?
I have lots.
Like you collect like.
I have thousands of hardcore and punk rock flyers from the late 70s to like late 80s. Tons, of course, from DC, a lot from LA. Then I also have probably one of the biggest collection of Globe posters. They're Day Glow posters.
I think they're the ones you
That's
were
the one I'm
referencing.
talking about.
That the company's from Baltimore. It's probably almost 100 years old now.
Right.
They went under. It was all hand printed letters. They did predominantly African American music up and down the East Coast. Hatch was in the Midwest. Colby was on the West Coast. They would then do circuses, you name it, and they were really responsible for creating the look and feel of a lot of African American music because a lot of records were coming out that had no picture sleeves, so there was no visual identity to a lot of the music. So a lot of the music's visual identity came from these incredible Day Glow posters that Globe would put together. Now Globe, thankfully, is still around. It's still alive. It's at MICA, the art school in Baltimore. They have all the letters. They have all the type. They have some of the presses. One of the last founders or family members that owned Globe, Bob, he's probably in his 70s. He teaches the class and teaches the kids how to make it.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Pretty
When
rad.
did you start collecting that?
I started collecting punk rock flyers when I started going to shows. I started collecting Globe flyers or Globe. I started collecting punk rock flyers when I started going to shows, and I still have mine. I started collecting posters from Globe in the late 90s when we would just rip them down from telephone booths.
Amazing.
You know what's interesting, though, is we're the absolute opposite to that.
I would.
We don't collect anything. And neither of us have ever really been the kind of person who collects anything.
But recently,
I don't have anything.
You guys like collect art now, right? So
Yeah, we have artwork, but
Yeah.
outside of that,
You have records.
Yeah.
oh, that's a good point. Actually, records that does count.
like vinyl.
yeah, That's kind of it, really, right? Like I don't have any. Like I went to a lot of punk shows when I was a teenager, and I would just take the flyer and throw it in the bin. Do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
would never think to keep it. I wish I had them all now
And you
because you
went-
can't find them elsewhere. These are like local. These aren't
Xerox
things.
ones that
exactly.
actually
You
staple
can't.
on, yeah.
I'm never going to be able to replace them. But I never would have thought to keep. I never really thought to keep anything.
Yeah.
I kept from the graffiti that I painted when I was young. I never really took photos. I never really, and if I did, I never really kept them. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
have half of the photos of anything that I ever did.
There is some photos I wish I had. Like,
Same,
I was thinking
heaps.
about yesterday when I was in LA. I was driving on the freeway. I was like, I was talking to
called me,
Roger.
yeah.
I was like, Roger, we need to do a valley graffiti book. He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's some people that would care. I was like, I would care. I'm like, there's so much cool stuff that people did
Yeah.
that I couldn't find it anywhere. And the internet usually has everything, but there wasn't, and That's why like I got like a whole thing about that kid Ozzy. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, man, there was just so much cool stuff like up until that point of the freeway, you know, on the 101. And it was just I couldn't find it anywhere.
I'll take you to my storage space next time.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing. There's
Yes.
someone like Roger. That's a certain kind of person who does keep everything. Do you know what I mean? Who wants to record all that stuff or make sure that it gets kept for themselves or for whatever the reason
Yeah.
is. You know what I mean? Even before we worked closer with Roger, we would, let's say if we were going to like paint a wall or even design an installation, we would draw it up and then we would take those drawings, we would use them, and then we would throw those
Throw
drawings
away.
straight in the
Wow.
bin. Because
Why would we keep them?
whereas I remember when we first started working with Roger, Roger would be like,
Archive everything.
he'd be like grabbing all that. Do you know, like taking it, and he's like, "We're going to use these. You're going to probably need it for a book later or whatever." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?
A book.
Take them, fine, do whatever
Yeah.
you want." Do you know what? When he thinks that way, whereas I feel like we think
Get rid of it.
the opposite to that, but it's rubbed off us. And we're getting better at that. Do you know what I mean? Like I think we understand a little bit more of maybe we shouldn't just
Yeah.
throw so much stuff away.
Do you guys consider yourselves like clean freaks?
Yeah,
You're pretty neat. I don't think you guys are like OCD. But
Not
you're
OCD, but we like to keep things very.
Because if you
neat.
look at your paintings, they're like stickers. They look like
Mhm.
stickers. It's like super clean.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no mess up. You'll never catch a drip. Like, so that's why I was like,
We
know.
are a little bit like that. Our house is always in order.
Uh-huh.
You know, and it's very rare that we would run out the door without everything just being neat
Right.
in the house. And our studio, compared to so many other, I know not everyone's studio is like this, but our studio we keep very neat, and the
Right.
way we work is very neat. We're not splashing paint
Yep.
around or whatever. It's everything's very kind of like neat generally. And I think when people come to our studio, they assume that we like cleaned for them and like set it up. You know what I mean?
You're
Like,
like, nope, that's it.
that we've like staged this to
Yeah,
look
yeah.
nice for them, and then so I was like have to like it's always like this, and I can kind of see in people's eyes they're like. You're lying. You like
Sure.
you're trying to like make it look nice for us or whatever, and then we go to other people's studios and it's all a mess. And I kind of am jealous
Anxiety.
of that. No, I like it.
Really?
I don't think I could do it for myself, but I'm like, oh, look how cool this person's studio is. It's all mess. There's a weird mannequin's head over there and paint all over the floor or whatever else. It's very like everything's in
Neat.
place. You know?
we're, and I mean, obviously no, but where are you two from?
We're from Melbourne, Australia.
And how did you guys meet?
We met when we were studying illustration in Melbourne, and that was in 2004. We met, and when we met, it was outside of the classroom. I don't think that you remember this, but I remember we started talking about music straight away.
Straight away.
And we started talking about KRS-One.
Yes.
That was the first conversation we had.
wow.
So that's
And-
what she says.
and-
I don't remember, but she
right.
she would know.
must be right.
What do you two think about KRS-One?
I like
I
it.
love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got into him.
Me neither.
No, not even BDP.
Nope.
No.
No,
Oh man, so good. I'm a big fan.
really.
Matt, of course, Matt is.
Yeah, he even came to my college and performed, and I like got up to the front. And this is back when you used to have like the cell phones where you had to like record a personal message.
Oh, yeah.
And I handed it to him, like already queued up, and he spit a freestyle for my like recording message machine. I had it for so long until you had to switch phones, and you could eventually lose it.
You don't have it anywhere?
Nowhere.
Oh.
But it was like, you reach Matt's phone, pick up the, it was so good. It was just so KRS-One too, because he was like all on that like hip hop as a religion at
Yeah.
the time thing. So he
Uh-huh.
was super like, and I was just so captivated that he could just go off his head for like hours and hours and hours. And he was doing it for a lot of people's phones. He was just taking them and just spitting them,
Right.
handing them back.
I still have answering machine tapes from when I was in high school that are hilarious.
Oh,
See, that's
what I'm
talking
like
about.
What,
This-
what?
he
Give
has
us an
every
example.
Ridiculous.
But like,
I can't disclose that information right now.
Roger has everything.
it's like back
Yeah.
in the Jerky Boy days.
Right.
Sugar Boy's the best.
I'm not a like diehard KRS-One
Yeah.
fan, but I love BDP, like some BDP albums and listen to KRS-One. But that's how we.
We started talking about music.
It
straight
makes sense
away.
because I thought for some reason I thought we were talking about Sonic Youth, but she always says,
That's a big leap, Sonic Youth to KRS-One.
yeah. I guess the moral of the story is we hit it off straight away because we
Yeah.
both have a very similar taste in music.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
It
mean?
was-
So we both started
It was before
talking.
we even walked into the first class. We
Uh-huh.
We were outside, and also. When I introduced myself to him, he shook me with his left hand, and I thought, "That's
What, like this? Like
yeah."
I like this guy.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's so rude. Gave her the scarf hand on the first shake.
No, but look at this. Look how cool it looks.
It doesn't look that cool.
I think it looks cool, and I'm sticking by it. I thought it was cool at the time.
yeah,
I knew what it was
that's
doing
a
the
good
whole
move.
entire time.
Anybody
it
listen
worked.
out there? You're
You
trying
don't
to
know
get a
the
girl,
left shake?
Give her
Oh
a
my
left.
God.
Give her the
You
left.
got no game.
And
Left
were-
shake is always the move.
Were
Strong
you
left.
doing graffiti yet or no?
No, I'd been painting and drawing since forever. But then he was the first graffiti writer I'd ever met. And I mean, living in Melbourne and living on the outskirts of the city, the train like culture in Melbourne is huge for anyone that lives there. And everywhere is painted. So my whole life I've seen graffiti, but I never ever met a graffiti writer in my whole life. And when I was in high school, I remember like I would try to it's so strange. I'm gonna get some of my sketchbooks when I go back there, and I would try to write in that style and stuff.
Yes.
And so when I met him, I was fascinated. Like, and we became friends straight away, and he would always talk to me and show me all this stuff about graffiti, and I really loved it. And then he said to me after about 8 months or something, he's like, "I've got this project. You should help me paint it," and that never happened. But then when we started dating, like a year later, then he's like, "You should come painting with me and my friends." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And so I just helped them fill in things, and then
Did you help? I thought you just came and started painting some characters.
no, at first
Maybe.
I think I just came and filled some stuff in
Right.
and got to handle a little bit of.
Just use
Can't control. Yeah.
Was that the first illegal thing you had ever done?
No.
No way.
She was not even gonna elaborate. She's like, nope.
Nope. Next question. So how long have you guys been together?
Well, that was in 2005 when we started dating, and then
I know it's 2020,
I
but
know.
it sounds like it's yesterday.
I
You know what I
know.
mean?
But
I'm
that's
like, that's not
15
even that long, but it's
That's
like 15 years.
Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
so that was like 15 years, and then we've been married this year for 10 years.
Yep. That's crazy.
I know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You should have gone to a KRS-One concert for your anniversary.
You should have got him to
Should've.
perform. Probably would have been cheap. Would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Another funny thing was when we were at school together, there was a CD player in the classroom, and the first day the teacher said, "Oh, anyone can just bring CDs in, just share it and like listen to music." And only us brought music in, and so we began a communication through music because we would just bring CDs in,
Right.
and we were actually just playing them for each other.
When did you guys move to America?
We moved to LA in 2009. Right, like April 2000, like the start of 2009.
Yeah.
What made you guys want to move here?
I don't even know. You know,
You just
like
were like, we're out?
I don't even like at the time we were living in Melbourne, and we ran like an artist run like space, like a gallery with a couple of friends, and we just started it off like this whim, like looking for a studio to share with a few friends, and then we found one with a storefront, and we're like, we can make like a gallery out of this. I'd never even been in a gallery at that point. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't even know anything about really like that kind of side of art or anything, but we just kind of did it, and we had so many friends who were graffiti writers, so we just started kind of like graffiti writers would have like art exhibitions there or whatever, and so it was like pretty loose. It was a pretty loose place. It was built by people who have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, we like my friend who is like a plumber like built the shower for us, but it was like not good. Like it was like a nasty place, and we like lived there for 3 years. We had a really good time. We'd have huge parties there every 2 weeks, and it was loose, but it was cool. You know.
Yeah.
I think when we were just kind of, it was run its course, and we kind of felt like doing something different. And we came to LA, and we were just kind of like, we made the decision. We were here on vacation, and we were just kind of sitting in the like at the airport or something. We're like, it's pretty good in LA, and we're like, and then we're like, maybe we could try moving here. Does that seem like something we could do? And Em's like, sounds like a pretty good idea. And then we just did it.
Yeah.
And we thought we'll just come for 6 months and see what happens. And then 10 years later, we're citizens now.
Yeah.
And I'm probably, I'm probably going to live here for the rest of my life.
That's crazy.
Isn't that weird?
I have a question about the music. If you go back to that, did you guys make each other mixtapes?
Ooh.
Well, no, but we would lend each
didn't-
other.
We would just bring things in to lend each other. And so we would I would bring records for Em, and then she would lend me CDs. Mixtapes, it was when was this 2004? I'd just gotten an iPod.
Mm-hmm.
My
You had
first
a- you had a mini
iPod.
disc
And before
player.
that I had a mini disc. So
mini
I couldn't
disc.
have I was listening to everything on mini disc. Like, doesn't that seem like so weird now? Anyway, what was I
Yeah.
going to do? Like, lend her, here's a mini disc.
Here-
What
here's
do I
some-
do with it? I don't know. What the fuck is this?
Wow.
But we would lend each other CDs. I think I would make CDs for you, but I don't think they were mixes.
No, they were just burnt CDs.
It was before we were together, and her boyfriend snapped one of the ones that I made for her.
You guys both had like a situation, right?
Yes.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
When-
people know. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Like when we were friends at school, we were both with other people,
Right.
at other
Yeah.
people at that time, and we just became close. But in that situation, her boyfriend at the time obviously could tell, maybe just by the way she was talking about that left hand shake.
She was like,
He knew that something was up, and so he
Oh yeah, he hated Darren.
he
so
really
much.
didn't like me. And same.
I mean, look at you, Darren. Everyone, of course.
And then so he
I remember telling him as well. I go, I met this guy.
Like super pumped on it.
I said he's got the best last name I've ever heard. His name's Darren Mate. Isn't that the sickest last name? And he's just like, oh my god, I hate this person so much. And his wife hated me.
She
too.
did. She could just tell that I guess something was up. Even though nothing was up, there must have been a vibe that we were
Right.
cosmically connected to each other.
So so you got there in like 2009. So like,
Mm-hmm.
when did the Hello Kitty thing start really popping off?
Well,
That's-
Well, that was a show that Roger did.
Yeah,
That
that
was all
was-
through Roger.
yeah,
Everything is through Roger, just so you're clear,
Well,
Matt.
the first thing that we ever did with Roger probably would have been 2010, and not Roger himself, the myth of Roger through his assistant.
Yeah, be careful how you speak about Roger.
His assistant hit us up about a Hello Kitty show that Roger was curating in Miami, and asked us if we would make a painting for that. Mm-hmm. And so, we made a painting for that.
I heard you guys were the biggest Hello Kitty fans there ever was. And we were working with them. No, Hello Kitty, I was doing a bunch of work for Sanrio, which was interesting because it was nothing to do with what I was into, but I understood the fandom of the audience, and I thought it was really interesting, the heritage, the characters, the charm points, and I was intrigued, and the opportunity to go build out ridiculous, crazy things for Sanrio and Hello Kitty. Why the hell not? It was just an extension of what we had been doing, and a lot of the artists we knew and a lot of the artists we worked with, I think, also found it interesting. All the characters, the worlds, and the stories that were created. So why the hell not? Yeah. And that first show in Miami was great, and we
it was epic. It was crazy.
The brand really let us have a lot of freedom of what we were doing, with the events, with the parties, with the art, and I think a few of those things we did for the brand at the time were some of the most interesting and fun things they've done that really got some incredible press.
I think
And,
so.
Yeah, that was the first time
And I think
you two did something.
Before that, we didn't really know what you did. I don't think. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Either did I.
Neither do I as on myself. So we're good.
but do you know what I mean? Like, I remember we went and dropped off this painting at the office. I owned some of your books, but I guess I didn't know. I never looked at who the book was made by. Do you know what I mean? Like, I knew that I was dropping off a painting at Roger Gastman's, but I'd never looked to see who made the book Morning Wood. Or,
Right.
do you know what I mean? And then after, I'm like, years after, I'm like, wait, this is fucking Roger's book or whatever. You know, I've had this for
Right.
years or whatever. And then
You've been collecting me.
Yeah. Roger,
I threw that book in the trash.
Right away.
Toilet paper. Propped up the table. You took it away from propping up the table and threw it in the
Exactly.
trash.
I'm like, oh, good. Get a new table. Throw away Roger's books.
yeah, Roger's
And,
books suck.
And so, but then I remember we were in Miami that year anyway during Art Basel, which is what Roger's talking about. And I remember we went to go see. We're like, oh, we'll go see the show that we made the painting for. And walking in, and both of us being like, damn, this is sick. This guy's done something amazing. This is a Hello Kitty themed show in Miami. And it's the coolest thing I've seen the whole time I'm here. You know what I mean? There was people tattooing in a tattoo studio, and there's these huge pose paintings and Lister paintings and crash paint. It was really, really cool.
I want to talk about some of that, the shows, because Roger's done a lot of shows. But let's talk while you were sleeping real quick, because that's that's Roger's so excited. Let's
Creepy
go
noise.
Jump back to 97.
Yeah. Tell me about while you were sleeping, Roger. How many people were behind it? Was it just you? I want to know.
While you were sleeping. I started While You Were Sleeping in 1997 out of the bedroom at my mom's house.
Yep.
I was 1 year out of high school. I graduated high school in 1996. I had a lot of friends that were older than me that were graphic designers. I had a few friends that were doing graffiti magazines. I had already been traveling around the country and trading photos with dozens and dozens of people. So I had a huge collection of photos. I'd been selling caps, the tips that go on the top of spray paint cans, for years. So I had a network of shops around the country and around the world that were buying things. And for whatever reason, I thought it would be a good idea to do a graffiti magazine. I'd been going to University of Pittsburgh, just fucking off, going to parties, stealing stuff, painting on stuff, doing things that had nothing to do with school. And I realized, thankfully, I was smart enough that it was a great opportunity. I should not be wasting it and just spending the money there. So I moved back home, moved back into my bedroom at my mom's house. I started going to school at American University. I was taking 2 or 3 classes at a time. And I got together with my friend Dave Keir, a graffiti writer we'd looked up to that was a little older than me, who had graduated school, had a job, and we laid out a graffiti magazine in between him going to raves. And we made 3,000 copies. We distributed through Tower Records and a few other places. I had absolutely no fucking idea what we were doing. I did my first interview I'd ever done with Steve Powers, Espo. My friend Gabe Banner was interning at his magazine On The Go at the time. I put in an ad for the spray paint caps I'd been selling, and it was just photos, and it worked.
Yeah.
People bought it. They liked it. I was shocked.
That's great.
We did another one.
Yeah.
We added a little bit of music. We added a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And within a couple issues, it was failed child actors, porn stars, how to steal, how to cheat, on and on and on. And it became awesome. We just started getting boxes of shit in the mail. From
everyone,
streetwear at the time, to CDs, to DVDs, to porno, to free concert tickets to come review my show. And I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And it started getting a little bit bigger. I started learning about design myself. I started interviewing more people. I had friends that thankfully have gone on to do big things that were working with the magazine. I learned about advertising. I learned about distribution, and I eventually stopped going to school. And While You Were Sleeping became, in a sense, my college education. For a lot of people that don't know what it is, in a sense, Vice was out at the time, but most people didn't really know what Vice was. It was a vice mixed with some graffiti, and a lot of bad things that most teenage boys love. We did a book. We ended up doing a book, The Worst of While You Were Sleeping, and purposely
Great book.
Thin paper, just like the magazine was. We didn't really fix that many spelling errors. It's a fucked up book. It's
I don't
great.
think we got it in Australia.
I was
though.
I was gonna ask you guys that.
I was never.
I had a distributor in Australia. I don't
You
remember
did?
who. Yeah.
You know what though?
You were too cool for it with your left handshake.
In all fairness, I like the whole time I did graffiti. There was an Australian magazine called Hype Magazine, which actually got here in America, which I never would have known until I came here. And people always bring it up like, oh shit, I got a thing of Hype Magazine or whatever. But I had all the Hype magazines, and then outside of that, I never owned any other books or magazines or anything like that. I just didn't really like buy like those kind of things. So it might have been I just never saw it. You know what? I don't know how. I never heard I don't know how well distributed it was in Australia. Like it might have been there, but it's not like it was.
Darren
it was
wasn't
everywhere.
looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
While You Were Sleeping, it was a term that we'd say to each other in high school. Someone's sleeping on their desk. One of our friends, what were you doing last night? Well, last night while you were sleeping, we were whatever, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And it was fairly true. It was kind of like I got you, I punked you. This is what I did last night. And you were sleeping.
It's a great term.
And it was a fun time of my life. We did horrible things that were amazing. Many things that probably, I'm sure, wouldn't fly today. And it was incredible. I mean, we really lived it, and we did it, and we ended up with an investor. We ended up with an office. We ended up hiring tons of our friends.
Was it bigger than your standard graffiti magazine? Because graffiti magazines don't go that far because people don't give a shit about graffiti outside of graffiti writers, and that's a small market. Well, especially in the 90s, it was even smaller. But do you think because you were having like porn stars and child, like there was other like lifestyle aspects to it outside, gave it much more wider
While You Were
scope?
Sleeping was like, I feel like it started off as graffiti, but like Roger said, it grew into something bigger, and then like Roger had access, kind of like I have, to people that no one can get to.
Yeah.
Like I remember you did the one issue with MSK and AWR, and no one could get to that.
Yeah.
You know, Casey used to be so protective, but Roger's always had the in with the crew 'cause he's pretty much from the crew.
Yeah.
You know, but like kids were like, holy shit, you know, like it didn't exist. Like it was just photos. What was the other magazine in LA? Like Big Time or whatever, you know, but
Can control.
Can Control. But while you were sleeping was like, you know, Roger kind of like broke the doors, you know.
Thank you. People trusted us.
Yes.
We weren't. We had phone numbers of a lot of people that all hated each other.
Yeah.
But in the end, we were, as much ridiculous things as we were doing, we were being respectful to people.
Yeah.
And when we said we were going to send somebody a box of magazines, we sent it. When we told a writer we were going to give them $75 or whatever we could afford for turning in a story, we did it. And
Got you.
that really helped so much. One of my favorite things, I wish I should pull this up, the Washington Post wrote an article about us a little bit after we got our investor, which was mind-blowing. The Washington Post was writing a story about us. And my office was probably barely a mile from where I went to high school also. So there was just so much like inbred, just stuff right there. And the Washington Post said something like, lock up your teenage daughters.
Jesus.
He likes that thing.
Yeah, he's
fucking
like,
smile.
he's like, that's the only thing he caught from that. Washington Post, lock up your daughters.
Teenage daughters.
Yeah.
Roger, how many issues did you do, and what year did it end?
That's a big trick question. I did 12 issues, I think, on my own. Not on my own, but without an investor or a partner, out of my house. And then we ended up with an investor, and it got a little bit glossier. It got a little bit bigger. Got a little bit fancier. And I did probably 6 or 7 issues there. And let's just say it got really dirty. And there's a lot of things I shouldn't talk about. And I left. But that's not how it was portrayed. And the few people that had kind of had a role in that were then let go, and the magazine continued to do a few more issues with a staff, from what I heard, was hired from Craigslist.
Wow.
But hey, I did 17, 18 great issues there. After that, I didn't really count anything that happened.
Wow.
Right.
Did you ever have like an internet footprint with that magazine at all?
We had a website, but it was, pretty minimal.
Yeah.
We did
Because that was like a big thing. When I getting into graph was like the internet was just starting to come up, and I remember that was like 12-ounce profit and all those like sites where you just go look at like just pages of graph. I didn't really like have very many magazines per se or books you could go get.
We did a video that was pretty incredible called Bedtime Stories.
That was the kind of like your CKY2K before, years and years before. I remember that. The kid jumping from tree to tree.
Yeah.
And then like falling, or the drinking the milk gallon and just puking everywhere.
Yep.
I remember that.
So Casey Ortiz painting subway trains.
Yep.
Tim Curtis and Nemel doing highways in Philadelphia.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty good
there
video.
There was ridiculous stuff in it. We had rights to zero of the music. Yeah. A lot of it was just random footage we'd seen on like some wild tape we stole.
Yeah.
And just did it. I had my friend Kelly, who's a married, responsible adult, and my friend Brian, who I'm not sure where he's at, but I've heard he's a responsible adult too, play the mom and the child, and she's like in my bedroom reading him a book and like sneaks out. I mean, it's absolutely horrible, but it was incredible. We made it my friend Joseph's place of work, where we weren't really supposed to be, late at night.
That's funny.
We did a really fun premiere party for it. I think Prince Paul played at it, things like that in New York. And it was a VHS tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so
called
good.
Bedtime Stories. And then we made a DVD with extra footage where there's all this ridiculous footage on the extras where we were screening people to do pornos. And it's just like the bloopers from that.
Can you see it online now?
You cannot.
No one put it online?
It's the music. It's like Britney Spears and Billy Idol and like
it's so crazy. I can't
Judas
explain it to
Priest.
you. Yeah, do you still have tape though?
I have some DVDs of it. Yeah,
we should, when we go to your house next with a lot of people, we should have like a premiere. Because I guarantee you, 90% of the people that we're friends with now have no clue that you did this video.
Or they're gonna be so embarrassed they're in it.
Yeah,
maybe that's
fair.
more,
Okay.
Even
more
better.
Yeah.
Chunks in it.
Yes, he
GK's
is.
in it.
GK's in it. I remember, dude, it's a good one.
It's that footage of painting the LA subways is
Yeah.
in it, right?
Yeah.
That nobody had.
Yeah.
Is that in it?
Isn't Tumor painting that too?
Tumor might be an infamy.
Oh,
He's in
no,
Infamy.
yeah, no. This was something else.
I
No,
know.
but I remember. But yes, that subway. I remember that though.
I know exactly in my storage where a DVD is.
I'm coming for it.
We had
Classic.
we had awesome shirts we made. There's 2 shirts that we made that people ask me for a lot We only made maybe 24 of each. It said I fucked your daughter.
You just can't wear stuff
Who
like
the
that.
fuck's
Can't do
gonna
that
wear
anymore.
that t-shirt?
People wore them.
There's someone sent me some sweats a few weeks back that say stop looking at my
It
thing.
worked its way
And
out.
I've been wearing it, taking the dog out, and Abby's like, please stop wearing that. I'm like, why? It's cool. Everyone's wearing it. She's like, who? I'm like, it's everywhere. Everyone. No one would send
all the
me.
cool kids,
yeah, if
Mom.
people. I'm like, the people that send me this, everyone's wearing their stuff.
That's
She's
funny.
like, get out of my house. This is like, but back to Dabs and MYLA. Dabs MYLA. One thing I've loved over the years of knowing you guys, like your art shows, like they're very well thought out, and I don't know if it's because of Roger, but
Definitely not.
joke. But I feel like your first LA show solo, was that at Known?
No,
Not solo.
we had one at Think Space Gallery when we first.
The one at Known was in 2012.
Yeah.
I think that's the one.
Right.
You had
In-
2 at ThinkSpace.
I think so.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We had one. We had one at
Maybe
Think Space.
one at Think Space and Known,
Yeah.
and then maybe another
Got
one
it.
at Think Space.
Yeah, one at Think
Uh-huh.
Space in 2010. Well, actually, we had a show first in 2009 in LA.
Yeah, we did.
At kind of like a.
It was kind of crazy. We just moved here and we were talking to different people about wanting. We'd kind of made some paintings, and man, our paintings looked a lot different then.
I was gonna get to that
Yeah.
too. Yep.
But they were the best we could do at the time, and we were proud of them, and we'd been working on them, and we thought, like, as soon as we're here, I want to, we'll do some sort of show, and so we spoke with this guy LC, and he put us in contact with someone who had a gallery. That they didn't really use. It was kind of more like an event space / kind of gallery. And he said they might let you just use this if you want to think of something to do. And we kind of, at the time, when we moved here, we were good friends with Joe Rhyme. And I remember like around that time talking with him or whatever about how we were doing this show. And I don't think it was, I don't know whose idea it was. If it was, I think it was maybe our idea. We kind of had an idea because we're like new to the city. We made this body of paintings, and then we also thought we had a lot of friends by that point, even though we hadn't been living here that long.
No, it was like 6 months or something.
6 months. We'd already, made a lot of pretty good friends in LA, and all, who were different kind of artists. And so we thought maybe we'll like curate a group show at the same time, you know what I mean, as we were doing our show. So we painted this crazy installation that took like a really long time for us at the time. Like we painted this whole space. There were several rooms, and we painted all the rooms, and we hung our paintings. And then we got like work from like just a group of different people that we were kind of friends with at the time. Like I wouldn't even be able to remember who's in it. Crayola was in it,
Right.
And Rhyme and shit. I don't even know.
People don't really do cool group shows like that anymore.
I don't really remember anyone else, but there was at least probably 30 other paintings in another section that we hung them, and that was kind of the first thing we did here. But because it was kind of off the radar, it wasn't, obviously didn't get that much traction. And then we had the show at Known Gallery in 2012, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And
That was
then-
the back room there, right?
Yeah,
And that
we-
was so cool because
With
you
the-
guys
Thank
like
you.
painted like the refrigerator, the
Yeah.
milk bottles. I got a couple spray cans. Some people stole them.
There was a big chair, right?
in the
There
chair.
was a chair.
But like
and-
you guys used to do all that, and you've kind of moved away a little bit from that, correct? I mean, like your last show that Roger did with you guys. Where was that, Roger? In LA, the store, the shop. You guys, the big big gallery.
In Beverly.
Beverly, that was amazing. But like, one of my favorite things you guys used to do is when you paint. You would paint stuff on things. 'Cause
Yeah.
it just was like so cool.
and
like
we
the
love doing that.
yeah, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
so you just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, and and we will, I guess. Like we kind of talk about that, and we always have different ideas.
Yeah.
Doing things like that is one of our favorite things to do. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that what happened is when we had the gallery space in Melbourne, we didn't have very much money. So what we started doing is because we always loved installations, and so we started painting on the walls. And then we were like, well, what else can we paint that's low cost? And
Right.
then we can paint on like spray cans because there's
Right.
all these empty spray cans
Always.
everywhere. And so then we started painting on those. And then
or like
what
other found objects.
yeah,
and
what
things.
other
Yeah.
things can we paint on? And so that kind of started like that. And then that we had exhibition that we had at Think Space. Like the first one, we made an installation where we painted on all of the walls, and then we made all these cutouts on card, and then we painted those.
Right.
And then as we
That's right,
upgraded,
yeah.
like we could afford to get like things
Wood
cut out of wood.
instead
Yeah,
of having
okay.
to use cardboard, or
Yeah.
slowly progressed into
What I wanted from them, like,
Yeah.
was to not hide the paintings
Right.
behind any of that, and just say, look, fuck you, we can paint. You don't have to see a spray can or refrigerator,
Right.
Yeah.
these other things to bring you in. Look at these paintings.
especially as the paintings got better too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I still do love that, and I'm looking forward into the future of how we can
Incorporate it all.
incorporate it all in because obviously back then, like Em was saying, money was short, and so we're just doing the best we could with whatever we could kind of like work with. But as we move forward, hopefully we'll just be able to have more like access to better resources to kind of do that on an even more finished,
Absolutely.
higher kind of level, like is kind of what we're working towards. And so I guess now we're in a transition period where for the most part we're working, focusing on paintings and doing different kinds of other installations, but then also looking into the future of how we can like make that leap into an even more finished world that we create.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like outside of the paintings as well,
Yeah.
because that's what we make is a universe that we've created. And so when we can build any kind of installation that makes you feel like you're inside that's what we want.
Right.
Even like that show in Beverly, there was some greenery. There
Yeah,
was
yeah,
some
absolutely.
florals, there was
Yep.
a
For sure.
sculpture.
I remember. Yep.
It was just a more separate
Absolutely.
version of that, I guess.
But
yeah.
it's about the painting.
But it's also really cool because like the paintings that were in that show, it's like because I've been around you guys for so long, like in the paintings, there's just like little reminders of stuff that you've painted that are like now in your paintings.
Uh-huh.
It's cool. That was really cool to see, and
Thank
always
you.
cool to see.
Thanks.
Yeah, and we
man.
love that because that's our those things are our shared history as people as well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, we're in
absolutely.
a relationship, and so the things that we painted 10 years ago is also part of our
There was a lot of
relationship
penises.
history.
A
Yeah,
lot
we
of
did
penises.
we did do
Yes.
that for a while, right?
Yeah.
Like we did some kind of fun things like that. We made
A lot of
like,
boobies and a lot of
like
penises.
fun like little stickers that were cock and balls
Yep.
and like little boob stickers and stuff.
Yeah.
you had your while you were sleeping moment.
Yeah,
we did.
absolutely.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
You're experimenting.
I just like the idea of the juxtaposition of how sweet our artwork is and how positive it is, and kind of giving it this like, not even a bad twist, but like this sexual twist was kind of funny at the time. We thought that was pretty.
So you guys used to paint like buildings, right? Like
Yeah.
like on
Like
your
in the paintings?
Yeah, in the
Yes.
paintings.
Yeah.
Like what was behind all that? Because I love that work. I'm sure you guys are like, we're so happy we don't do that anymore. But like,
Well,
but I
one
used
of-
to
one of
love
us is.
seeing it. Yeah, I used to love seeing all that because you could tell there's so much detail in those things.
Thank you. Well, I suppose what happened
When we
is-
first got together, I guess when we first started making paintings together, what we did was a little separate from
Got it.
each other. You know what I mean? And Em had this amazing, like when we were studying, we both were taught how to paint photorealistically. It was part of a illustration course that we were part of or whatever. And I was average at it at best, you know what I mean? But enough to like I learned how to do it, and I took those skills and it helped me. Whereas she was really, really very good at it. It was like insanely good at small detail and realistic rendering. And so,
So you're the one.
well, but that's also what you wanted to paint. Like when we
It
started
was.
making paintings together, you're like, Darren, I want to put some realistic buildings in there. Remember those ones I painted? And it just kind of like
it was
built around
cool,
that kind
because
of-
we could. I mean, I think now when I look back on all the things that we've painted together, we needed to start at a point where we could figure out how to
structure it.
to fit this whole thing together.
Yeah.
And then that was the way that we could. And then once we realized how we could work together, then we could take that out and still continue on what we were doing without that. And then I think once we did that, everything kind of like got, I don't know, much more refined
did.
and much more uniformed as well. And I think that as much as I really do love painting like that, it's like I could use all the skills that I had for that to be able to do what we do now.
Yeah, because you guys paint pretty fast. I mean, we've worked on a bunch of projects
Yeah.
together. You guys are fast. Like,
I think we're fast for how neat
yes,
it is.
'Cause it's so
Do you know what I
clean.
mean? Yeah, exactly. But she was really good at painting that. It was really cool making paintings that way because it was a really cool part to have. Like aesthetically, they just looked cool. But then I think like what Em was saying is it was kind of a necessity is to start working that way, and it was really cool. But then also over time, that kind of fell off, and we created a whole new something that only existed between, like, it used to be like, oh, I can make these characters and you make these, and then while that was all happening, we created something in between those two things that is something that is both of ours, and then move forward with that, you know.
So now how we paint is there isn't like one person's thing and then the other person's thing. It's just one thing.
That's awesome.
And Roger has to be thanked as well.
It's true.
For the push to be able to have the confidence to do that, because people started to really like those paintings, and I think we were a little nervous to stop doing that and to delve into
something else,
this thing that we knew that we could do. And then when we said to him, I don't know,
I can remember you saying it to Roger,
like, what do you think about this? Is that a bad, like, people are going to be like, why have you been making paintings this way? Now you're like, and then he said, you make paintings, you just do them exactly how you want to do them. And that liberated us to be able to surge forward, I think, to where we are now.
Yeah.
It's so broad though. Like there's, scenery ones, there's flowers, there's like
of course,
the characters, there's the little creatures. It's like there's so much of a world now, but it all kind of fits so nicely together.
That's the biggest thing for any artist to be successful, is be able to have a universe that can live over here, over there, and in the middle, yet at the same time build constant bodies of work that can support it. And there's elements of all of those bodies somehow sprinkled throughout.
Right?
Yeah. Roger's really good at pushing people.
Yeah, he is. He's pretty pushy.
He's awesome, but he gets the fucking job done. You know, Raj, can we talk about art in the streets real quick?
Sure.
How involved were you in that?
Very.
That was one of the coolest shows in LA history, obviously.
No question. Art in the Streets was an incredible experience.
It was the first time before you say anything else, that was the first time it actually crossed my mind to like steal a lot of people's art. And it was very easy, like, because I was there in the middle of the night and I was like, I could steal that cause. No one will know. Those Jimmy House guys were just cutting shit up in here and painting on it. And I'm like, I could steal that. But, you see like cause 93 or 95 and you're like, I'm going to go get that.
Yeah.
No one's going to say anything.
There was a lot of good stuff there.
But anyways, Raj.
The show was incredible. We knew what we were getting into. I knew what I was getting into, but it was still so much more than anything I ever could have imagined. I wish I had more of an understanding at the time, of course, of how important that show was. We were just so in it, living it. Myself and my team and my office really had so much back end things that we did, talking with the artists, making it go. I was living at the space almost. I was taking people on tours at all hours, which is unheard of. A museum just letting you walk in whenever, and with, a scumbag graffiti writer to a celebrity to a collector.
I never really thought about that. That's not that common, right? Like, because I remember going there, and you were taking people in and out all the time in the evening, like late at night, and all the setups happening. That's not that common, right, for a museum to have an installation in progress and just have scumbags and anyone just walking in and out all the time.
Like LA's biggest scumbags.
Yeah.
But thankfully, for the most part, everybody respected what I was doing. Everybody respected the artists that were in the show.
It's true.
And it worked. And
everyone was so
hyped for it.
Oh my
there was
God.
such an energy. I'm so glad to be living in Los Angeles at the time.
Absolutely.
That was going on, because it was such a great, positive, creative like push and energy happening over the month before and the month like around that show, which was so rad.
It's still the biggest show Mocha's ever done.
I'm not surprised.
You would think other museums and other institutions, or even Mocha, would open their eyes, put their hand up and say, hey, can we do something like that over here?
So did Jeffrey Deitch come to you, or like how did that work?
Jeffrey had recently come to LA. Jeffrey had recently come to LA, and he was the director of the Mocha.
Right.
He had a few great shows he was working on there, and he had worked in this world of graffiti and street art way longer than I had, and had way more of an incredible reputation in that world, especially in the higher art part of that world, than I ever will. And he wanted some people to help him put together this massive show, and asked around, and my name kept coming up. He called me. We sat down and had lunch at Little Dom's, I think. We had met each other casually a few times before. And he said, great, can you help do this show? And many, many, many meetings later, it happened. I mean, there's so many ups and downs and twists and turns, and why this artist is in, why this artist is out, what's going next to where, we're going to build this wall, can we get this car brought in?
I remember a lot of, obviously, when something like this happens in the graffiti world and the street culture world, people are always going to get upset. And was that something that you were wary of going into it, of how many people were, that this was going to cause? And was that something? I would assume that you would be aware of that. Was Jeffrey as aware of that, or did you let him know? Like, you understand by doing this that a lot of people are going to be, like there's going to be like conflict is going to be, like stirred up from doing something like this.
I don't think anyone other than myself and my team understood what that conflict could really mean at this point and how real it was. And I was getting death threats, you name it, on my phone all the time.
Yeah, I could imagine.
I was getting people threatening me in person. Like, it was very real. But most of the people doing that, honestly, I respect their graffiti. I respect what they've done in the graffiti world, but they're not people that ever went on to have gallery or studio careers.
Yeah.
They've gone on to continue to do graffiti here and there, or actually a lot of them haven't even done that. And again, I respect what they did as graffiti artists, but the show is not about what you're doing on the streets. It was about the evolution of the art form.
I think that's what maybe would have been like less understood. When someone like, what are you talking about? I've been smashing graffiti for the last 40 years. Why am I not part of this or whatever? Like, not really, I guess people would have not really seen the scope of what the show actually was.
No one had a...
They just know, like, how come this person's in this, but I'm not in this, or how come this
Roger
is this?
still gets that.
Oh, yeah.
I still constantly
Of course. It's like...
I got that all summer in New York last year. This summer before, I got it here in LA when we were doing Beyond the Streets. But I'm constantly getting it. People come at me about books I did 10 years ago, threatening to kill me because they're not in one. I'm like, okay, did you call me back?
It's like, so crazy.
I think another, that's the crazy side of it too. But like even the press side, because like we're all artists, so we all understand that graffiti is art. But to them it was vandalism. So like the press that you guys were getting behind the show was like, oh, vandalism is not an art form, and oh my god, look at all the vandalism that's popping up around the little event space because like there's so much more graffiti going on, like because of the art show or that's about vandalism.
No one wanted to talk about all the restaurants that were always booked, all the parking lots that were always full, the gift shop that did better, the new membership to Mocha, anything like that. And honestly, it was a disappointing amount of extra graffiti in the city during Art in the Streets. Yeah. Absolutely, there were some more stickers, there were some more marker tags, but no one did anything wild and crazy.
No.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I thought it would have been more.
Exactly.
Everyone was so pumped on it. I remember being there in the middle of the night with Risky or Revoke or everyone painting there, just like, man, it's like they were pumped, man. Like it was a game changer, And then I remember opening day, just like. One, because obviously Jay had a situation in LA, but like I just remember like everyone was so excited to see like this crazy room, of just like West Coast graffiti. I mean, I know there was way more involved, but like West Coast finally got like its stamp, like a real like
I pushed hard for that.
Yeah.
Like
that makes sense.
Cartoons, like ice cream truck, Jason painted that air, that heaven, like
it was so good.
There was just so much cool shit that like I still get the chills, of like, man, that was a good show. And then 10 years later, Beyond the Streets is born, a little less, more, I don't know, give or take, and now you have Beyond the Streets, and obviously you just came off of New York, and that was, felt to me like a major success, maybe because the first one in LA was great and I loved it and I was so excited, but like New York's obviously the mecca of graffiti, and you had a really strong powerhouse as far as PR goes, and you got so many amazing headlines, like stuff that graffiti has never been blessed with, so tell us about Beyond the Streets.
After Art in the Streets, I was discouraged by museums. They didn't want to take this art form on, yet anybody that would do a small show, it would be the biggest show they'd had. I did 2 shows after Art in the Streets at museums, one in Washington, D.C. and one in Denver, both heavily graffiti influenced, and both shows were some of the busiest shows the museums had in years. Other shows that I knew other museums were having, again, heaviest traffic shows in years. no matter who we were talking to at Museum Wise, they wanted me to raise the funds. They wanted me to do the catalog, do everything, and pay me next to nothing. Where I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm not a non-for-profit here, but I can't just do this job for you with my whole team and lose money for you in the museum. So I said, you know what? I need to do this. We need to do this on our own without a museum and figure out what the fuck to do. And not treat it as a history of graffiti, treat it as some of the best artists to come out of graffiti, out of street art, rule breakers, mark makers, people that have really done things on their own terms. And then at the same time, every 10th or 15th exhibit, put something in that's more ephemeral, more historical, that really reminds you where you are and kicks you in the butt. Oh yeah, this shit is illegal. This is the culture it came from. And this is why this grouping of people that are now such established artists, why they're even in here together, because you often wouldn't see them together. Like earlier you mentioned, there's not group shows like this anymore because so many people have gone on to do different things and they don't fit together as much of a group. So
they're not really graffiti artists anymore.
Right. So same thing. These people don't really fit together as much of a group anymore, but we found a reason to put them together as a group. And the show was incredible. We did it in LA. We did it in New York. We had, I don't know, close to 200,000 people by the end come through. Incredible press. The artists were really happy, something that's so important for shows like this. Unlike so many museum shows, they decide what they want and they go get it from collectors or other institutions. We worked directly with all of the artists for the show, and most all of the work was made for the show.
Like Darren and M, you guys had for New York and LA, like you guys always go over the top. Like it's like really cool. Like, you know, Roger, some artists will just send Roger art and Roger will make it work. But you guys are very involved always. Like,
yeah, we always,
you know, like it's like you guys had like the whole flower display and then your art was framed around that. That's really cool. Like you guys like to be involved, you know, and make an impact.
Yeah, we always do.
I think that just goes back to when we first started ever doing shows together. We always wanted to do something that was bigger than what we were, like what the work was. And that's why we started painting on the walls of the gallery. Like the first exhibition we had, we painted on every single wall of the gallery. And I think that as time goes on and we, you know, we make relationships with different people and different you know, different practices. So for Beyond the Streets, we worked with our friend Amelia. She has a great company and she's a floral designer. So we worked with her to be able to create this installation. And what's so exciting about being an artist and being in this moment is that there's so many people that are doing so much great stuff and you can just use so many resources to be able to do these things.
What's like going back to what Roger was saying about how all these people don't fit together or you know, like what, like, no, that's what he was saying. But you like when we were talking about that, the difference between say like our like flower installation and Mr. Cartoon's church is huge. They're completely different to each other, you know, and then on to like whatever Husband what like all these things are very different. But at both Beyond the Streets, what a lot of people were saying to me anyway was how what's so interesting about Beyond the Streets is everything in here is made by completely different people from all over the world doing complete men, women, Americans, Australia, like people from everywhere. But there's something, even just as like aesthetically, even that somehow ties everything together. And I think that it's like interesting, even though everything's so different, it's tied together, not because you're told that, oh, all these people started from working on the streets, so therefore it's tied together. Visually, somehow that also comes across too. You know what I mean? Which is so cool because they're all so different. But because it all kind of came from the same intention and the same place, it does fit together, which is so interesting and so cool about it. And to see so many different things like that, that's what one of the coolest things about Beyond the Streets, I guess.
Thank you. I know for your installation, you guys wanted to do something other than just paintings. I, of course, wanted you to do something other than just paintings. You'd been talking about florals for a little while.
Yeah.
And what could or couldn't work. And you were talking about some cutouts here and there. And I just didn't want to see any two-dimensional stuff. And either did you all.
Yeah.
And it was, how can you really just make it about the paintings again, yet really create something fantastic that you can walk into and be immersed in, and you did that.
Yeah, I love that installation. It was really cool. I love it. Yeah,
and I think all three of us just said, "Screw it, just do that." Like,
yeah, I remember.
I don't think there was a big like, oh, Amelia, we've wanted to work with her. Maybe we could do a little bit of that. We could do this cutout. We could do this. And I think we all just either on the phone or in person.
No, we were there at the space. I remember we came and met you there.
I think we just said, screw it. Just do the florals, immerse yourself. Why not?
Like go deep into it.
What's next? Like, what do you guys have in the works right now?
We're working
'Cause you have some time until this comes out. So if there's anything secretly that's
Oh yeah.
a month or so, like
Say when you say what you're working on, make sure you say for when it's for. So if it's out after
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got you. Well, at the moment, we've just been in the studio working on new paintings for the last couple of months, just developing a new body of work. But then specifically, we have a show in May in Tokyo at one of Murakami's galleries,
Right.
which is really cool because we've never shown in in Japan before. And
I think I told you guys I was going to come to that.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I
That
think
would be
yeah,
amazing.
yep.
I think Aaron wants to come too.
Yeah, I'm gonna come with
I
Aaron.
need to let Aaron know.
I'm gonna
the
make
new
Aaron
dates.
pay for my
Yeah,
ticket.
you should make Aaron buy you a ticket.
Tell him to buy mine
I was gonna
too.
say, you should make
us
him
three
buy
for business class. I'll tell Aaron business is
first.
cheaper than first.
I like how,
We just need a bed, Raj. We don't need.
I like how
anything.
Roger's like, no, fuck that first.
Aaron's got points.
But yeah, so we have the show coming up in Tokyo at Murakami spot, which we're really excited about. So at the moment, we're just kind of working on since a couple of months ago. That's been our main focus is just getting the paintings for that made, which is going really good. It's like a kind of like a new series that we've kind of slowly been working towards.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, we're pretty psyched about it.
Yeah. They're so fun, these paintings. Yeah, I love them so much.
And you guys got a new studio.
Yeah, we moved into a new studio. It's like maybe 2 times bigger than the last studio that we had. So it's gonna be amazing because we've already made a couple of really big paintings in there at the start of this year, and it felt great to be able to work on really large scale paintings in a studio. So that's something that we're gonna also be developing as well. Not for the Japan because everything there's like much smaller.
My thoughts continue the last few years with DABSMYLA and direction is they'll keep making paintings. When there's a body of work that's ready, we'll figure
show.
out the best of place to show it and not really try and lock in. We have to do the 2 shows every year and they have to be here, here, and here. Because if you look at the last several bodies of work, they've grown. They've been really interesting. They've been unique, but they've continued to relate back to each other and back to the last bodies. So I think if that's the way they continue, it'll work.
I love working that way. I guess it's
When you're ready, you're ready.
Yeah, it's such a
great.
great way to work is just, and I guess it's the one, not the one, it's like one of the, like a great benefit to working the way that we work with Roger, which is not in a standard gallery setting, is the date will be when the work's made. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
There's no calendar because we're not filling out a calendar for a gallery. And so we can just keep developing and pushing ourselves to make the best work we can. And then once it's ready, then sit with Roger and figure out, what we want to do.
And you guys have been obviously, you've put in the time and work, and you've been blessed to take the time you need. Not to, oh my God, we're starving. We need to you guys have done.
It's really hard to work that way.
100%. We have friends that we see that are just like they're still so good, but they still haven't learned like the ropes, and they
don't
have
hard
someone
thing.
like Roger.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to kind of think that way, and it's hard to take that time to, like you said, like we're very lucky that we can work in that way, and we're lucky that we get to do it together too. You know what I mean? So like, even though we're working really hard all the time, we got like our best friend with us all the time. Just like, I don't know how well I would manage working this hard by myself. You know what I mean? I'd probably go pretty Looney Tunes. Like I think I would maybe like go pretty weird spending that much time that I do if it was just me by myself in there.
Absolutely. You'd start talking to yourself.
Exactly. It doesn't take long for me to flip out if I'm left by myself for too long.
Right. Roger?
Yes.
What's next?
What's next?
I mean, you don't stop. You just got back from Felipe's show.
I'm working on a few books right now. I'm working on a big book with
Roger has a lot of books, just so everyone knows.
Books.
He's made a lot of books.
There's been over 60.
They're really good for propping up tables.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
And they're good for toilet paper too.
Fireplace kindling. Whatever you need. I'm working on a huge book with Martha Cooper of 1980s outtakes.
Wow.
I'm working on a massive book with Jason Revoke of the graffiti.
Yep.
Not of the art. Well, the graffiti is the art, but of the graffiti, not the studio work.
I think the entire community is waiting for that book.
Dude, it's going to be so
Not
sick.
because he's our good friend, but it's like, okay, the king himself finally needs
Yeah.
a book.
The History of American Graffiti book I did a few years ago. I've been revisiting that. We're going to put out a massive, probably 1,500 page, multi-volume book. I don't know when that will ever be done, but we've been actively working on it. And there's going to be a lot more coming from Beyond the Streets.
Can't wait. I can't wait. I'm sorry I got to cut this short. I could probably sit here for another 3 hours. But thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much,
coming.
guys. That was awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, dudes.
Man, this was awesome.
Gotta go. Peace. Bye.
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 See you later.
That's just terrible.
Bad news.
I